Hello, it's Philip Taylor speaking from Richmond Green Chambers in London. Today I'm looking at a book which has come to us from INTERSENTIA, who are an established publishing company both in European law and titles in England and Wales. They're based in Cambridge in England and also of course in Antwerp on the continent. This book is called Safeguarding Children's Rights in Immigration Law. Now, it's been edited by 4 people, I hope I'm pronouncing these names correctly: Mark Klaassen, Stephanie Rapp, Peter Rodrigues and Tom Liefaard. And there are of course a number of contributors to this work, which is an edited work. I've given the title of our short book review this: An Important Contemporary Statement on Child Law and Migration, because that's actually what you're getting. And I'm going to just have a quick look at the book first of all, and then we'll talk a little bit about what's in it. It's a paperback, there it is. That's the front, there's the spine, and then there's the detail of the 4 main editors on the back with some blurb which I've borrowed for the review. This is the detail about the editors themselves, and then what you've got in addition to that is an index. It's a short index by page numbering. They're not particularly difficult. You should be able to find what you're looking for quite easily. You can see there the beginning of the index. You can see also it's got paragraph numbering and footnoting from the back of the book. If I go to the front of the book, there's the front page there. Then you've got some blurb. Then you've got a detailed preface written by Tom Liefaard, which I think, Ton, I should say, not Tom, but Ton. I think I said Tom, but it's Ton Liefaard. And he's looking at children on the move are children in the first place. So very much a book, if your practice is about child law and European matters, it's all about 30 years of the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, most important piece of legislation, if I can put it that way, as a convention. Children on the move, and then academia and children's rights looked at. This is all in the preface. And final remarks: children on the move and children in the first place. And you can see the huge amount of footnoting that goes into this. Then we get into a contents section. You can see the names of some of the people who are involved in this, obviously the editors and others, in the various chapters as I run through them. And then you've got a list of case law based on a wide range of different jurisdictions, including the European Court, of course, of Human Rights, European Court of Justice of the European Union, then national courts, including our own in the United Kingdom. And then you've got the actual list of authors, quite a large number of them, who are there. Their names are mentioned in the individual chapters, so you should be able to find anyone you're particularly looking for. What is helpful is you've actually got a short index to each of the chapters, so you should be able to find things pretty easily by a comparison of the contents and the index, depending on what you're looking for. And then just going through the book, you can see a large amount of footnoting and, of course, the paragraph numbering. Now, the book is something 300 pages long, probably the very most, but it is an important book. Remember, it's Safeguarding Children's Rights in Immigration Law, which I think is going to become very important in the future. So what do I say about the book? Millions of children are on the move. That's set out in the preface. They're on the move worldwide at the moment because globally we've entered a new era, and that has been compounded by the problems of the pandemic, which has swept the planet from the autumn of 2019 onwards. Children, of course, are fleeing conflicts and wars. They move on with or without their parents to attain a better future. And we are well aware of that nationally and internationally. Children, of course, are on the move is not a new phenomenon, but its scale is without precedent. I think that is certainly of great concern internationally, because the United Nations have produced a number of reports which suggest that there are almost 50 million children who have migrated or who have been forcibly displaced. That's a huge number. It also has reported that children form half the global refugee population and that many are fleeing from violence, conflict, insecurity. In other words, war. And we know some of the main theatres of war where they are trying to escape. Children who are, of course, migrants or refugees often find themselves in a particularly vulnerable position. And that is despite rather strong entitlements to the protections they are given by the human rights legislation and the rules in various countries. They're laid down both internationally and nationally as legal instruments, including things like the UN Convention on the Rights of the Child, which is some 30 years old and mentioned right at the beginning of the book. Because what we're getting here from the four editors and the contributors is a collection of scientific papers presented at a conference which was called Safeguarding Children's Rights in Immigration Law, which was organised by the Institute of Immigration Law and the Department of Child Law at Leiden Law School at the Leiden University in November 2018. So it's a while back now. I'm recording this in the summer of 2020. But what we get here is a reflection of the growing concern for children and children's rights in immigration from basically the academic world and from those of such as myself who are practitioners. And what we also get here is the diversity of issues relating to immigration and children. That includes the one big area of what we call family reunification. It also covers detention, participation, an area I have been involved in as well, which is human trafficking, and the rights of siblings in the context of migration, as well as the significant regional legal systems and infrastructures for the protection of children on the move. And I think, again, that is very well covered because the book targets the academic community in particular, and also people such as myself as lawyers and other professionals and those looking at the subject in a much greater detail, because the subject areas are not just about child law. It's immigration, asylum, refugee status and nationality law as well. I do find the book is extremely helpful. It's been brought together by very substantial expertise, and as is the case with all INTERSENTIA publications, this book has applicability not just nationally but internationally, and you can see that by the sources that are referred to in terms of statutes and case law. Now, the date of publication is cited as at the 1st of January 2020, and I'm recording this in the summer of 2020. It's a first-class book, and I'm very, very glad to have been able to review it. There's the front of the book again. There's the spine, and then there's the back. Just opening it in the middle. Combating child smuggling and trafficking. This is a particularly difficult area because it's a very substantial chapter on it. It's a comparative study in 9 European states. Now, I've had some knowledge and some practical matters that I've dealt with concerning what is called child smuggling. It can be called slavery. It can be sexual trafficking as well. These are important areas, and areas which can be very, very difficult because of cultural problems which can become apparent. But it's this sort of work and this type of book which makes us realise when children are fleeing from one place to another, one theatre to another, for whatever reason, that sometimes you need to know what the motivation is. You've got a very good, just as one example. This is a comparative study from 9 specific countries, but you get an idea that this is an issue without borders. We're talking about immigration law. It's migration of children, and therefore it's really without borders because it's a global problem. And at some stage, although the UN have done a lot of work on this, we are still in infancy, if you like, when it comes to really dealing with these problems, because the difficulty can be the cultural sensitivities that have to be looked at when it comes to trying to make sure that the human rights of the child are fully protected. That's what the slavery legislation, which was brought in by Theresa May's government in the United Kingdom. That's what that legislation was all about, and I'm hoping that we will see more of that across the other jurisdictions in the future. In the meantime, a very big thank you to the editors and the contributors, and of course INTERSENTIA, for a first-class book. Thank you. Bye-bye.